Newsfirst at 9. Headlines.
It's the 17th of June 2014. A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to the News at 9, coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst Centre here in Colombo. I'm Joel Outscoon with tonight's headlines. Police curfew imposed on Aludgama and Beruala still in effect. One person killed in an incident in Henegama, Mathugama. Hartal and protest staged in the east against the unrest in the south. Professor Venerable Kamurave Vajrathero comments on the incidents in Aludgama.
මුල් අවස්ථාවේම පොලිසිය තමන්ගේ රාජකාරියට ඉෂ්ට කළා නම් අද මේ සිද්ධි සිද්ධ වෙනවද?
What legal measures will be taken on those responsible for the incident in Aludgama? Opposition leader questions in Parliament. President Rajapaksa receives award for contributions to peace and democracy. Chief Minister of North says that the military should be removed from the north and the east. Let's now cross over to our Newsfirst studios for a comprehensive news bulletin.
Well, thank you, Joel Outscoon, for bringing us the headlines. You're watching Primetime News at 9. I'm Stephanie Lazarus.
And I'm Ravi Gamage. We start off with a look at tonight's top story, the unrest in the Aludgama and Beruala areas.
The police curfew imposed in the Aludgama and Beruala police divisions is still in effect. The army has been deployed in the area in addition to the police and police special task force to provide security in the area. Meanwhile, another individual was killed in an incident that occurred in Henegama, Mathugama last night. Groups had also damaged several shops in the Valipanna town.
A guard at a farm in Henegama, Mathugama was killed while another guard was injured and hospitalized. The deceased was a 58-year-old man.
Usually on weekdays, the Valipanna town is crowded, but today we can see that the town is almost deserted. Several shops in the town were damaged in attacks last night. Upon our arrival here, we could witness goods being transported to other locations. The army and the police have been deployed to beef up security in the town.
While the situation in the Valipanna town had been brought under control by this afternoon, a heavy security presence was evident. Residents of the Valipanna town said the situation was created by external parties who had come into the town last night.
We believe that this was carried out by outsiders. There was no division here at all. Even during the floods, they gave us food and shelter. We gave them food and shelter. The villagers were not involved in this. Various persons have stated that these acts were carried out by outsiders. We are looking into that and the Colombo Crimes Division is investigating the matter. Whether they be from the village or outside, if they were involved in these crimes, the law will be enforced against them in the near future. The Aludgama, Beruala, Mathugama and Valipanna police stations have arrested about 41 people as of now. Over the past 2 days, 25 of them were placed in remand custody.
Meanwhile, Army media spokesperson Brigadier Ruan Wanigasurya noted that the Army had been deployed at certain locations in Aludgama and Beruala to provide security.
Considering the situation that arose recently in Aludgama, Beruala and surrounding areas, and as per a request made by the police, the Sri Lanka Army personnel were deployed in Aludgama, Valipanna, Daga town, Beruala and Maggona. These personnel will cooperate with the police to ensure peace in the area and to protect the people.
The police curfew imposed on the Aludgama and Beruala police divisions was lifted for 4 hours from 8 o'clock this morning in order to provide essential supplies. The curfew was reimposed at noon. The director of the Kalatra General Hospital, Dr. Pradeep Vijay Singh, says that 23 persons injured in the recent unrest are continuing to receive treatment at the hospital.
In related news, hartals were held in several parts of the eastern province to protest the unrest that erupted in Aludgama and Beruala.
A protest march was held in Katangudi, Batiklo to protest the incident that occurred over the weekend. Shops in Kalkuda and Otambadi in Batiklo district were also closed to protest the violence in Aludgama and Beruala. Shops had also been closed in protest in Adala Cheni, Palmunai and Oluville in the Ampara district.
The chief prelate of the Amarapura sect, Most Venerable Daul Denanyani Sarthera, issued a statement today to respond to the recent incidents in Aludgama and Beruala.
In his statement, the chief prelate notes that the unrest that was prevalent in Beruala and Darga town, Aludgama, is saddening. He notes that as this is a country where all persons, Buddhists and all other communities should live together in harmony without ethnic or religious divisions, if certain incidents occur, they can be resolved through dialogue. The chief prelate notes that there is no cause for loss of life and damage to property. He reiterates that all communities, Sinhala, Muslim and Tamil, should live together in harmony. The chief prelate of the Amarapura sect prays that peace will dawn through the vision of Buddhism.
Meanwhile, in Parliament today, Opposition Leader Ranil Wickremesinghe questioned as to what legal measures had been taken with regard to individuals responsible for the incident in Aludgama.
ජූනි 15 වෙනි දින බේරුවල ප්‍රදේශයේදී ඇති වූ සිද්ධිය නිසා උද්ගත වී ඇති
I wish to turn the attention of this House towards the confrontational situation that has arisen following the unrest that broke out in Beruala area on the 15th of June. Tensions arose several days prior to this following an attack on a shop in Aludgama and an alleged attack on a vehicle in which a monk was travelling in.
ඒ ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ අත කපලා දාලා කියලා. ඒත් එබඳු සිදුවීම් යලි ඇති නොවන පරිදි
Rumors were abound that the monk's hand had been cut off. Of course, this was completely false. However, instead of taking preventive measures to ensure that such incidents do not occur again, the government has created an incendiary environment. As a result of this, communalism was instigated, and according to what we know, there was massive property damage and even loss of life. On the 15th of June, several organizations, including the Bodu Balasena organization, held a public rally in Aludgama. Outsiders had been brought into the area in buses for this rally. Furthermore, the speeches at this rally had incited communalism. Subsequently, this group had journeyed across Darga town, a predominantly Muslim town, in procession.
මේ සිද්ධිය සම්බන්ධයෙන් ප්‍රදේශයේ ප්‍රධාන ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලා රජය දැනුවත් කර මෙම
I do not understand why they went to Darga town for a problem that arose in Aludgama. Darga town is a Muslim area and the problem in question arose in Aludgama. Local leaders of the Mahasangha in the area had informed the government that this problem could be resolved through dialogue by the Sinhala and Muslim people in the area and that the government should not let external parties stoke communalism. While I expect a comprehensive report on this incident, I wish to ask the Prime Minister why the government allowed this to transpire and spread and simply looked on quietly. We would especially like to know the identity of the official who approved this rally.
අගමැතිතුමාගෙන් විමසා සිටීමට කැමැති. විශේෂයෙන්ම කවුද මේ රැස්වීමට අනුබල දුන්න නිලධාරියා කවුද කියලා අපි දැනගන්න කැමැතියි.
මෙම පහර දීමට සම්බන්ධ සහකරුවන් තුන්දෙනෙකු අත්අඩංගුවටගෙන අධිකරණයට ඉදිරිපත් කර රක්ෂිත බන්ධනාගාරගත කරන ලදී.
Three suspects in connection with this attack have been arrested and produced in court and remanded. Samita Thera, who had been hospitalized, was discharged from hospital and approval was granted as per request made by monks to hold a rally to felicitate the Thera on the 15th of June, that is on Sunday. Following this rally, the Thera was to return to the Vijayarama Viharya where he resides, and since the road to the Viharya falls across Darga town and passes the main mosque in Darga town, the clergy at the mosque were informed and the relevant factions agreed to let the motorcade pass without obstruction. However, the situation arose as a result of a certain group pelting stones at the vehicles carrying the monks as it passes through Darga town. While property has been damaged, 6 police officers were injured. A monk named Soda Matera was injured and 44 people, both Sinhalese and Muslims, were injured and hospitalized. 2 of them have succumbed to their injuries, while the police followed all necessary steps to control the situation. The CID and Colombo Crimes Division have already initiated investigations into the major incidents.
ප්‍රධාන සිද්ධීන් පිළිබඳව පහත් පොලිසිය හා කොළඹ අපරාධ කොට්ටාසය විසින් පරීක්ෂණ දැනටමත් ආරම්භ කර ඇත.
I say that as party leaders, let us convene today and discuss measures that can be taken to put a stop to this. I wish to clearly note that if anyone is found to have committed any wrong, we are prepared to take steps with regard to all these actions.
Tensions flared at the Eastern Provincial Council today when councillors from the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress attempted to put forward a resolution on the incidents in Alutgama and Beruwala.
The monthly sitting of the Eastern Provincial Council commenced this morning. UPFA Councillor Kandasamy Pushpakumara, who was sworn in recently as a replacement, was scheduled to address the council first. During his address, he was interrupted by SLMC group leader AJ Jamil, who attempted to put forward a resolution on the situation in Alutgama and Beruwala. Tensions flared at this instance and the sitting was postponed on 3 occasions as a result. When the council was adjourned for the 3rd time, 2 SLMC councillors walked out in protest, taking the mace with them. The sergeant at arms and another councillor brought the mace back to the council and the sitting recommenced. When Kandasamy Pushpakumara attempted to address the council again, he was obstructed by SLMC councillors. As such, the chairman of the Eastern Provincial Council, Aryavati Galapati, decided to postpone sittings to the 16th of this month.
We are
now facing a situation where we cannot put forward our problems to the chairperson. The SLMC members of the Eastern Provincial Council have come to a decision that we cannot work with a person like this. Our next step is to remove this chairperson, and we objected against her.
The party leaders convened and decided to follow the agenda. The first item on the agenda was the maiden address by the new councillor who was sworn in. At this instance, Councillor Jamil came to me and presented an emergency resolution. Although Councillor Jamil presented an emergency resolution to me, as per the regulations, I could not include it in the agenda. When the floor was given to the new councillor, Councillor Jamil disrupted him and acted in a disruptive manner, raising his voice. Subsequently, I postponed the sitting.
The incident in Alutgama and Beruwala was also brought up in a sitting of the Western Provincial Council today.
The war was brought to an end after 30 years. Not even 5 years later, we have been unable to stop persons from breeding hatred among communities and dividing communities. We have not been able to build national unity. You have been unable to bring forth national reconciliation.
All the shops in Valipanna owned by both Sinhalese and Muslims were destroyed last night. It would be worth your while to go look into that.
We cannot resolve this problem by standing for narrow political advantage and by claiming to represent ethnicities.
Our judgment should be decided on what was done. Thereby, we must leave aside our religious and ethnic differences and express our condolences for the loss of life, the wounded and the property that was destroyed.
At 9:15 a.m., the Chief Minister informed me that 75 shops in Alutgama had been destroyed.
I apologize. What you said was wrong. When you called me, I told you that 70% of Muslim-owned shops had been set on fire.
You said 75 shops.
No, I apologize, but your statement is wrong. I was listening in order to respond.
It is not a matter of whether this is for the Sinhalese community, the Muslim community or the Tamil community. As Sri Lankans, this is an unfortunate situation for all of us. Stop this.
As the situation in Alutgama and Beruwala continues to raise concerns in the international community, the Australian government has issued a travel advisory to its citizens visiting Sri Lanka.
The Australian government has issued a level 2 warning which asks citizens to exercise a high degree of caution when in Sri Lanka. The Australian government also suggests avoiding public demonstrations and large public gatherings as they quote may turn violent unquote. The Australian Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued the travel advisory in the wake of unrest that broke out in Alutgama and Beruwala recently. Commissioner at the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission Dr. Pratibha Mahanamaheva says that the report on the incidents that took place in Alutgama and Beruwala was to be submitted to the SLHRC today. He added that officials from the commission visited the affected areas yesterday to assess the situation. Meanwhile, the Interreligious Alliance for National Unity convened a media briefing today and commented on the incidents that took place in Alutgama and Beruwala.
A complaint was made to the police over the incident in Alutgama. The police did nothing. It was after the people surrounded the police and forced them to do something that the police investigated the complaint. If the police had initially carried out their duty, will this situation have arisen? This would have not taken place. That is where it all started.
We request that the rule of law be strengthened. We request the officials and the respective parties to immediately enforce the law if something like this happens.
A small incident was turned into a major incident. The international community is looking at Sri Lanka and is looking for ways to bring the country into disrepute. The 30-year war was ended. The time has dawned upon us to live in happiness, devoid of divisions over whether we are Sinhalese, Hindu, Buddhist or Christian.
We strongly
condemn this incident as religious leaders our only wish is that such incidents do not take place ever again. We suspect that there is some form of Western conspiracy behind this.
To keep abreast of the latest developments, visit newsfirst.lk. You can also follow Newsfirst updates on Twitter at newsfirst_en and on Facebook at facebook.com/newsfirst.english.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa received an award from Bolivia today in recognition of his contribution to peace and democracy. The presidential spokesperson in International Media Unit notes that the award is the highest honor awarded by the plurinational state of Bolivia.
Vice President of Bolivia and President of the Legislative Assembly Alvaro Garcia Linera presented President Mahinda Rajapaksa with the Parliamentary Order Merit Democratic Representative Marcelo Quiroga Santa Cruza at the Legislative Assembly in La Paz, Bolivia yesterday.
I am conscious of the significance of this prestigious medal which has been awarded to me. The words of praise delivered by Your Excellency and the Honourable Speaker, together with the contents of the Parliamentary Order, are most appreciated.
Bolivia notes that President Mahinda Rajapaksa was selected for the honour as a result of having defeated terrorism and established peace and development in Sri Lanka. The presidential spokesperson and International Media Unit said the award also recognizes President Rajapaksa's commitment to human rights and his initiative to improve and expand relations with South America, including Bolivia. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon was also scheduled to receive the award. President Rajapaksa also held bilateral talks with his Bolivian counterpart Evo Morales yesterday. During the discussion, President Morales expressed his willingness to work closely with Sri Lanka. President Morales inquired about Sri Lanka's political, economic, industrial, export and import sectors and showed particular interest in Sri Lanka's apparel sector. While stating that his visit to Bolivia is a new beginning in diplomatic, economic and trade relations with South American nations, President Rajapaksa said establishing relationships with new nations is a part of the government's policy. President Evo Morales also accepted President Rajapaksa's invitation to visit Sri Lanka. Following the conclusion of bilateral talks, President Morales hosted a colourful ceremony with military honours for President Rajapaksa at the Presidential Palace.
The United Nations General Assembly yesterday unanimously approved Prince Zaid Al Hussein of Jordan as the new High Commissioner for Human Rights, succeeding Navi Pillay. Speaking following the approval of his appointment at the General Assembly in New York, the High Commissioner designate noted that he was honored to be succeeding Pillay and that he would build upon her noteworthy achievements. The session was presided by the President of the UNGA, John Williams A. Ash, and Deputy Secretary General Jan Eliasson.
May I take it that the General Assembly, on the proposal of the Secretary General, wishes to confirm the appointment of Prince Zaid Al Hussein of Jordan as United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights for a term of office of 4 years, beginning 1st September 2014 and expiring on 31st August 2018. It is so decided.
Following the approval of the appointment, representatives of several regional groups made statements welcoming the appointment, following which the floor was given to the High Commission designate.
Deputy Secretary General, for a second when you announced the nomination and no one clapped, I thought I was off the hook. My supporting wife seated behind me told me to enjoy this moment, to soak it all up. After all, she said, you are among friends whom you've known for a very long time, because when you start this job, she added, you may not have them for very long.
MP Andrew Kumar Dissanayake posed questions in Parliament today on the expenditure on print, electronic and online advertising of several state banks and an insurance corporation over the past 3 years.
These are public institutions. It is through the funds that are granted by these institutions that the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation and ITN earn money. These are public funds, but the behavior of these media institutions makes it evident that they do not consider this money as public funds. These institutions are being maintained in order to sling mud at other political movements. If I ask the question in this angle, it comes under the purview of the media minister. But I wish to ask the minister just one question. Speaker, Rupavahini and ITN are telecast nationally. Similar status has been given for the CSN channel. What assessments or surveys were undertaken in this regard? I wish to ask you if funds were dispersed in keeping with the results of such assessment.
In truth, the media minister is more informed on this subject than I am, but as far as I know, this is a sports channel. In the case of a sports channel, normally, as far as I am aware, a large portion of programming on Rupavahini is taken up by sports. Because it is sports, payments have to be made. But I do not know why you have not asked about the income. You have only asked about the expenditure. But if you were to ask the media minister, he would clarify to you that advertising can be obtained for sports programming. So you need to speak of both the income and the expenditure.
This formula is very clear now. First, the sport broadcasting rights are given to them. It is a sector that has been a major source of revenue for the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation thus far. Those rights are given to CSN. Money is being pumped by public institutions to them because they are broadcasting sports. Thereby, isn't this entire formula a reflection of a scheme to bring one media institution to the fore with state sponsorship and earn more revenue?
Honourable MP, these are policy problems. Under our government, as per our government media policy, there is state media and private media. Ask the media minister what the policy is. I can tell you the income and the expenditure. You ask him the question and he will tell you on what basis this decision was taken.
Chief Minister of the Northern Province, C.V. Vigneswaran, says that the military should be removed from the northern and eastern provinces. The Chief Minister made this comment while engaging in a tour of the Mullaitivu area.
A group including the Chief Minister of the Northern Province toured Mullaitivu to look into the issues faced by the people in those areas.
The military is always in our lives. Because of the military presence here in the north, the normal life of the people have been affected. That is why we are saying that the military needs to be removed from the northern and eastern provinces. As a solution to this, divide the military into 9 and send them to all 9 districts. Why is there military presence in our province alone? Why is a retired military officer being made governor? This is happening in the eastern province as well. If needed, we will take measures by the courts.
And on this first night, the Employees Provident Fund notes that problems have arisen in dispersing payments to close to 400,000 members as a result of information anomalies. The Deputy Superintendent of the EPF, Upali Tilakratna, says that the situation has arisen as a result of disparities between information provided to the EPF and information listed on members' national identity cards. He added that the problem is gravest in the case of plantation sector employees.
Members of the EPF who have fulfilled the prerequisites to receive money from the fund receive payments from the Central Bank of Sri Lanka after they submit the relevant documentation and receive approval from the Labour Department. The money is disbursed after the Central Bank confirms the identity of the member by comparing information listed on the NIC with information provided to the bank. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka says that information anomalies have arisen in the case of close to 400,000 members who have completed contributions to the Employees Provident Fund.
The contributions are initially paid by the owner of the institutions in whichever sector that the employee is working in. This report is not provided based on information listed on the NIC or the birth certificate. Mostly it is based on information provided by the employee. Subsequently, when the employee comes to obtain a housing loan or when they come to collect the money after completing contributions, it is then that they realize that there is a mistake in their name. This mistake occurs owing to the disparity in the information provided at the first instance and the information listed on the NIC. In order to correct this, if you discover a mistake in the half-yearly statement, then inform us via your employer. When we are informed, we can take steps to correct the information.
The EPF department of the Central Bank has implemented a program to obtain information from member accounts as per the members' NICs in order to prevent such problems from arising in the future.
The 10th Newsfirst Gammadda program is currently underway at the Ganegorala Rajamaha Vihare in Agalavatta, Kitulgoda. Newsfirst Gammadda aims to bring public representatives and public officials onto a single platform to hear the grievances of the people. Special attention is being paid at the 10th Gammadda program towards the problems faced by the families who were affected by recent flooding and landslides caused by extreme weather conditions. Minister of Disaster Management Mahinda Amaravira, Minister of Plantation Industries Mahinda Samarasinghe, Kalutara District Parliamentarian Vidura Vikramanayaka and officials from the Disaster Management Centre are participating in the program. Responding to queries raised by the people, a preventative program to minimize damage in future disaster situations is also being discussed at the program.
A wild elephant that was roaming in the Egorapitiya area in Karuwala Gaswaba was captured by wildlife officers today. According to locals, this wild elephant had been terrorizing the area and caused damages to property and life. The elephant had killed 2 persons. The elephant was captured after days of tireless efforts undertaken by the wildlife officers from Karuwala Gaswaba. First up on Sports First, Sri Lanka captain Angela Matthews says that Sri Lanka's batsmen managed to face up to the challenge of England's strong pace bowling lineup at the Lord's Test. In the first Test match between Sri Lanka and England ended in a draw at Lord's yesterday.
Sri Lanka was set a target of 390 runs for victory on day 5 of the first Test at Lord's. While Sri Lanka were on 164 for 3 at tea, the wickets of Kumar Sangakkara and Lahiru Thirimanne fell in quick succession after the break.
Outside edge, gone!
Prasanna Jayawardene, who had fractured his finger, partnered up with Angela Matthews and managed to stay at the crease for more than 90 minutes. While Sri Lanka had 2 wickets in hand and were clinging on for a draw, Rangana Herath fell off the first delivery of the final over, leaving spectators on the edge of their seats. Although the wicketkeeper appealed for a catch off the batsman's glove, the batsman was not holding the bat at the time the ball brushed past his glove. 11th man Nuwan Pradeep was left with the demanding task of holding on to his wicket for the final 5 deliveries in the face of an experienced bowling attack. On the 5th delivery of the over, the bowler successfully appealed for an LBW given out by umpire Paul Rifle. However, the Sri Lankans reviewed the decision and the third umpire deemed that the ball had struck Pradeep's bat first. In a tense finish, the ball was lofted into the air of the final delivery but fell just short of the fielder, enabling Sri Lanka to scrape away with a draw.
In news from the boxing arena, an event was organised today to felicitate Lakmal Athauda from St. Sylvester's College, Kandy, who was selected for the semi-final round of Super Fighter, Sri Lanka's first ever sports reality programme.
Super Fighter.
Lakmal Athauda, who was selected for the semi-final round, competes in the 56 kg weight class. A large group, including the principal of the school, Ranil S. Mitiakoda, and students were present for the event. Over 10,000 competitors participated in the preliminary rounds of the Super Fighter, Sri Lanka's first ever sports reality program. Super Fighter is a joint initiative of MAS Holdings, Newsfirst and MTV NBC Media Networks.
Super Fighter.
On a somber note, Don Nima, who functioned as the baggage master of the Sri Lanka national cricket team at home matches for close to 12 years, has passed away. 54-year-old Nima, who was run over by a motorcycle near his home in Borala last night, was admitted to the Colombo National Hospital with serious injuries. He succumbed to his injuries this morning. A father of 2, for 33 years, Nimal served at the SSC in Colombo and was also recognized by several national cricketers for the service he rendered.
Before wrapping up the news, we take a look at the weather with Nicola De Sousa.
Good evening and welcome to Weather First. Taking a look at your forecast for the next 24 hours, according to the Department of Meteorology, southwest monsoonal winds of up to 70 to 80 kilometers per hour to be expected over Sri Lanka and neighboring sea areas. The Met Department requests naval and fishing communities to be vigilant as deep and shallow sea areas around the island will be rough with strong westerly winds. Rains can be experienced in the Colombo, Galle, Nuwara, Kandy and Ratnapura districts. Let's now take a look at the forecast highs for the key cities and towns in the island.
Well, that's it from the News First English desk for tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Ravi Gamage.
I'm Stephanie Lazarus. Take care and good night.
Hotline 0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.